Joining me now is Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news. I'm going to try my very best to keep Patrick from getting his blood pressure too high. But I have a lot of video clips and a lot of news stories tonight that I think are going to have him to have to really pray hard to keep calm. Well, welcome back, Mr. Technocracy.news.
You bet.
All right. Well, here we go. Buckle in. Here's a clip from President Trump yesterday. Here we go.
Well, thank you very much. We have a big signing right now, and we have a tremendous industry where we're leading by a lot. It's the AI, artificial intelligence. I always thought it should be SI, supreme intelligence, but I guess somewhere along the line they decided on the word artificial. And
Supreme intelligence. I don't know. That sounds almost sounds blasphemous, does it not? And he signed an executive order basically saying that states can't do anything about it, data centers, everything that's going on. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, governor of Arkansas, is not standing for it. DeSantis down in Ron DeSantis. Yes. Governor Ron DeSantis down in Florida is not standing for it. I mean, I just have to ask myself, what is this guy doing? Midterms are coming up. He's demoralizing the base. What does he not care about the Constitution, the 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution? The powers the federal government has are listed and specific, and the unlisted powers belong to the states and respective people thereof. He's going to lose this at the Supreme Court.
No kidding. You know, this is the it's flipped on you, but this is the essence of my book, The Final Betrayal. You know, this is a betrayal of the American public, all of them, not just conservatives or MAGA or the populace, whatever. All Americans are at this point are being betrayed by this whole thing.
And I don't want to sit here and report this. I do not want to sit here and report this. I wanted to sit here and report one victory after another where we got tired of reporting on victories. Remember?
Yep, exactly. I hate this too. Absolutely hate it.
And, you know, Daniel Horowitz, we've tried to get Daniel on the show. Maybe all you guys should go over to his website. Here it is. Look at this. Because we've texted him. He responded once, but we've been trying to get him on the show. I don't know why he's not wanting to come on the show. But I like Daniel. I'm always quoting his stuff. Here he is talking about Trump pimping for pot, but he has another one here. Here it is. So Daniel Horowitz tweeted this. This is edge computing. There is no cloud involved. The cloud and AI. Trump is just a boomer who's been conned by tech bros like a senior citizen scammed by telemarketers. The only difference is the scale. Instead of his life savings, they've conned him into handing over the U.S. Treasury and all our future earnings. They play upon his simultaneous intellectual laziness. That's a good word, because I have thought that for a while. Intellectual laziness. What was the last book President Trump read? Intellectual laziness and declining mental acuity. I don't know about that one there, the mental acuity. I don't know about that. The intellectual laziness, I think that's probably very true, as well as his massive ego. Okay, I'll go with that one, but you know, we all have to struggle. We all struggle with our vices, so I'm not going to throw stones, right? You know, he was without sin, let him cast the first stone. So we all have our weaknesses, but I do think he is intellectually lazy. But I'm just reading a major conservative here, Daniel Horowitz, whose title is over at The Blaze, senior editor at The Blaze. Okay? So this is not some leftist guy. And this is the kind of thing going on all over social media today. People are ticked. Yeah. Can you imagine if Biden or Kamala Harris were doing this?
Yeah, there you go. You know, we need to stop.
Why am I more exercised than you, Patrick? Did you take something before you came on the air?
No soma for me. But I'll tell you what, we need to stop making excuses for Trump. Trump is who he is. And we should understand from the get-go, even going back to the first administration, he's been on the side of AI and tech bros all the way. So this is not surprising at this point that he's caving to these people. And, you know, this since January 23rd, when the inauguration took place, he's executed over maybe 221 executive orders, more than any president in history. Incredible. With 221 executive orders without Congress. So, this whole thing is over the top at this point, and many of these EOs have been related to the unleashing of AI in our government and society in particular. Now he's trumping the states as well. He knows better. He said, well, maybe he doesn't understand the Constitution. Really? How? It doesn't take a brains surgeon to figure out what's going on here. These tech bros, yes, they're in charge for sure, but these tech bros, especially we see standing behind the president there, was the Secretary of Commerce. This EO hamstringing the states is being done under the Department of Commerce in particular, who think they can enforce the Commerce Clause of 1876, I think it was, something like that. And so you see the word commerce and this EO all over the place, like 7 times. I checked. So the Secretary of Commerce is going to be mounting a task force to make sure the states toe the line. Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that. All right. Well, then we have to add in Ted Cruz. I've never been a fan of Ted Cruz since he was pushing the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's in my 2015 book, Becoming Religious Reich. Then we can get into Heidi and what she supposedly was doing with the George W. Bush administration and the whole Mexico, Canada, and America thing, right? But anyway, here's Ted.
It's a race, and if China wins the race, whoever wins, the values of that country will affect all of AI. We don't want China's values of surveillance and centralized control by the communist government governing AI. We want American values of free speech, of individual liberty, of respecting the individual. So this executive order, I believe, is tremendously important. Thank you for your leadership.
What, the executive order related to not allowing is that the executive order he's talking about, related to the states not regulating AI? Well, how is that?
Yes.
That's the absolute opposite of everything stupid Ted, I think, just said.
You're right. You're absolutely right. This is so much doublespeak. It just makes your head spin around. The whole thing with AI, since at least when Trump got in office, it's been a complete gaslight operation. Saying stuff that just isn't true, and then telling people it is true. You can't make this stuff up. It's absolutely incredible. So, you turn it around now and say, well, in order to serve the common good, we're going to just take away states' rights, even temporarily, maybe. But you'll get it back, eventually, they say. This is a gaslight. It's totally false.
Well, if Ted is so worried about China winning the AI race and we can't have social credit scores and everything they have, well, then don't empower the tech bros who can't be accountable to the states and the people thereof. That's how that happens, Mr. Ted Cruz. And if you're so worried about China outdoing us on the AI race, then look at this headline today from the Associated Press. Trump approves sale of more advanced NVIDIA computer chips used in AI to China. I mean, again, the double speak. Where is Ted Cruz saying, we don't want them to win, Mr. President, don't ship NVIDIA chips to China? There was his chance to say it right there on camera. But,
yes,
see, I think he's counting on the American people being, bottom-feeding, low-information voters.
Yeah, I think so. Wow, this is just incredible. And then we have the story about Pete Hegseth at this point, who's embedding AI now into the military. This is so disturbing for Christians, especially. I think
I've got it. I'm bringing it up. Story. Yeah, I'm bringing it up as quick as I can. Yeah, there it is.
Well, in this press release, he says he makes the comment that manifest destiny. That's why we're doing this. It's our God-given manifest destiny to bring AI into the Department of War in order to conquer our enemies. Who on earth could twist the scripture so much to think that God gave us the AI in the first place in order to conquer our enemies for Christ?
Can someone pull that down real quick while he's talking? Because I want to search something real quick. I want to search something. Hold on one second, guys. Manifest destinies. Manifest destiny. Is that a phrase?
Oh, yes, it is.
Used by the New Apostolic Reformation?
Sort of. It has a long history. You might remember the West was conquered based on manifest destiny doctrine.
Right.
The West. So when the settlers came west under manifest destiny, the leaders in Washington, D.C. told them that it was their God-given right to force all of the natives away from the savages, if you will, out of the land, conquer it, in other words, for Christ. Mm-hmm. This was twisted. It was evil in that point. At that point, and it's still evil. You know, God is not interested in having us conquered anyone at this point, other than people shooting at us. But these people weren't, obviously. Mm-hmm. So you know, this is the doctrine, if you will, that Pete is enforcing, and everybody, he's widely described as a Christian nationalist. He adheres to the doctrine that we have to conquer the world for Christ before Christ can come again.
Yep. That is, that's where I wanted to bring in the New Apostolic Reformation.
Yeah.
Because I have, let me do this. Let me put it in my books. Manifested Sons of God. All right, here we go. We're going to get plenty here. All right, this is in my book, Religious Trojan Horse. Religious Trojan Horse from 2011. Manifested Sons of God. Here we go. The New Apostolic Reformation teaches that certain individuals are becoming new spiritual beings. George Wood, he was the superintendent of the Assemblies of God. He warned against this. The revived church, anticipated by the Kingdom Now proponents. That's what you just described. Mm-hmm. You're saying that he's a Christian nationalist like Doug Wilson and these guys that think we have to usher in the kingdom of God, then the Lord can return. That fits with New Apostolic Reformation, false prophets and apostles, and people like, I think, Cindy Jacobs and Paula White and others. The revived church, anticipated by the Kingdom Now proponents, would demand a new breed of Christians, supermen and superwomen. Believers would be taught that they are more than humans. Some Kingdom Now adherents go beyond little gods, teaching we're little gods running around on earth, to holding to the possibility that we are the manifested sons of God, the race of Christians whose bodies will be transformed not by the coming of the Lord, but by his inner secret coming within themselves, end quote. And then, of course, they go on to teach that those kind of people will be able to raise the dead and do all kinds of stuff. Let's see what this is. Jules' husband was an Assemblies of God pastor. She sent me a bunch of research when I was writing this book and became concerned with this heresy. In 91, Jewel released a report, Joel's Army, it's often called, in which she correctly identifies 4 aspects of the manifested sons of God heresy. 1, to claim perfection through progressive revelations beyond Scripture. The written word of God is held in low esteem and experimental knowledge very high. The word of God is perceived as a symbolic book. The claims that the God-man dwells in every member and is waiting to be discovered and manifest by believers. And it goes on from there. Paul Cain tells it like it is. This is one guy writing about him. Mike Bickle, International House of Prayer. Cain had been a promoter of Joel's Army heresy, also known as manifested sons of God. Paul Cain tells it like it is, he says. I don't know what the second coming means to you. There's so many different returns of the Lord or comings of the Lord. I don't know. We have a cardinal doctrine like that, but he goes on. Let me tell you, he's coming to you. He's coming to his church. He's coming to abide in you, to take up his abode in you. I want you to know he's coming to the church before he comes for the church. He's going to perfect the church so the church can be the image and be him and his representation, end quote. And then Bob Jones says, and the church that is raising up The government will be the head and the covering for them. There's a ministry after the fivefold called the ministry of perfection, the Melchizedek priesthood. Your children will be moving into the ministries of perfection, coming into the divine nature of Jesus Christ. They themselves will be that generation that's raised up to put death itself under their feet, because the Lord Jesus is worthy to be lifted up by a church that has reached the full maturity of the God-man. And then Bill Hammond writes, Jesus will come back to earth and be given the kingdom that has been won for him by this man-child company. The manifested sons of God doctrine teaches that these sons will be equal to Jesus Christ, immortal, sinless, perfected sons who have partaken of the divine nature. They will have every right to be called gods and will be called gods. Now, I bring all that up because I don't know if you care if you call it manifested destiny, manifested sons of God, this Christian nationalism, taking dominion, Reconstructionism. It all, I think, fits and flows together into something I find very dangerous. Agree or disagree that I'm tying this all together?
Totally.
Totally what? Agree or disagree?
No, I agree with you. And I'll say that even though Hegseth is not a member of the NAR movement,
right?
There's so many overlaps with Christian Reconstruction and Dominion theology, and he is a member of the.
It's a church tied back to. It's a church I think tied back to Doug Wilson out of Idaho.
Doug Wilson, exactly. He goes to a church in Washington D.C. that's connected, one of the churches that Doug Wilson supports, or
which
whatever,
a lot of these people want to bring in Old Testament law, like the Mosaic law for the church today, which of course is part of the replacement theology, right?
It really is. On balance, if they could achieve a theocracy, they would do it now. It's not going to happen just like they think, but that's the underlying direction that they're going. So when they talk about the manifest destiny, what they're saying is we have a mandate from God using AI. Basically the concept is they're blaming AI on God and saying, well, maybe he invented it in the first place, gave all these people the inspiration. Now we have this as a tool to conquer our enemies. This is so twisted. This is not Christian theology
and
at all.
I bet you, Patrick, that you and I are one of the few people that are making these connections.
I think you're right. I'm really sick of it. I'm really sick.
I mean, where are all the Bible teachers and everybody and the parachurch ministry leaders that were warning about the New Apostolic Reformation, like we've done for years? Where are they now? Why are they not connecting the dots and warning the church that, you know what, many of you thought this was going to come in from these prophets and apostles, but what if Satan is setting up the right to bring it in, which is why I wrote the book in 2015, The Coming Religious Reich, because I saw it happening right then and in that year, and now it's furthered under the Trump administration when you have, I think, people like Paula White hanging around, and then others like Pete Hegseth that apparently are being influenced by Reconstructionism by churches tied, we're told and read, back to Doug Wilson.
Exactly. This is very disturbing. When national leaders take this position to enforce their theology, if you will, on the rest of Christianity, many Christians are obviously asleep. Mm-hmm. They should be hopping up and down. Like if Trump wants to stop states' rights, you would think that constitutionalists would be hopping up and down, right? Mm-hmm. In the same way, Christians should be hopping up and down right now for what Heggs has just said, that we're going to conquer our enemies with AI, because AI is our manifest destiny. And so, nobody gets it at this point. I can't believe it. But, all of these pastors who have defected in the past, even starting with the death of Charlie Kirk, what happened after Kirk's death has been stunning to me. All of these churches now who followed him in the first place, they've all swung into this Christian Reconstruction camp. They've changed their eschatology at this point. They've gone into all other errors relating to the return of Christ. They're not looking imminently for his return at this point. And where does that leave you? It leaves you with a bunch of Christians who have a hollowed out hope for the return of Christ. This is so stunning. It's just vacating the church at this point.
Yep. And I'm sorry, I'm not compromising my Christian convictions and my biblical worldview to any politician, not even to the Trump administration. That's not where my allegiance lies. And I told this audience from day one, we're going to call balls and strikes. We're not perfect. We're not sinless. We have feet of clay like everybody else. We're not going to be, like condescending. We're going to celebrate the victories, but we're going to point out and be the watchman on the wall. We're not going to try to do it in a self-righteous way. I have no right to be like that. But I am going to be convicted, and I'm going to be passionate, because I think this is one of the greatest deceptions. Because if this was done under Biden or Harris, people would be coming unglued. This is all you'd be hearing about on talk radio. But this is where Satan gets people into power, or God allows these people to come into power, because Satan is trying to set up his beast system, and God's stepping back and letting man do what man wants to do, because man has a free will. And you're seeing it happen through the Trump administration. And I'm telling you now, Donald Trump's administration, whether he intends to or not, is going to end up doing more to set up the Antichrist beast system than any president in American history thus far. True or false?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And when Ted Cruz somehow equates what's going in China, that we don't want that to come here, excuse me, it's already here with companies like Palantir operating in our government to spy on everybody. That's just, tell me how this is different, Ted. What are you talking about? We're setting up the same system in America that they have in China already. And I might add, the system in China was set up by the same technocrats to doing it here. So what's the difference? It's the same system. It's a global system. It's a global system where there's no race. There's no race between us at all. The race is Satan getting ready to set up his global kingdom, including everybody. That's all the nations of the world are going to be in it. Not China. It's not going to be multipolar, right? It's going to be one system.
And if the Lord doesn't return, he's not returning to the second coming, but if the Lord doesn't call the church up,
yes,
in a few years, we're going to look back and say, oh, you see all this stuff right here that you guys are promoting? That was Pete Hegseth. That was Donald Trump. That was Lupnick. That was all of those guys. Yeah. Right? No wonder the left, by the way, you watch some of these groups like Right Wing Watch. That was started by People for the American Way. What was the name of the guy he was the producer of All in the Family and all those shows? Remember him?
Yeah. Norman Lear.
Norman Lear.
Yeah.
Norman Lear. Right Wing Watch. I look at some of their videos sometime, and they're like freaked out about the right. I'm like, yeah, me too. The right freaks me out. They're a part of there's parts of the left that freak me out. There's part of the right that freaks me out. Right? And no wonder the people on the left are freaking out, because they're thinking, I don't want to live under the theocracy of the New Apostolic Reformation people. I mean, neither do I. I think they're like the Christian Taliban, in my opinion, theologically speaking.
Exactly. We don't want that type of a government in place anywhere in the world. We saw it with Islam, Sharia law. Give me a break. It would be just as bad as Sharia. So we need to abandon this whole idea of enforcing biblical law somehow on the whole society. It'd be so ugly, so unfair, so anti-God. It would be unbelievable.
Speaking of anti-God, remember Jeffrey Sachs?
Oh yeah.
Didn't Tucker interview Jeffrey?
Yes, he did.
It wasn't a challenging debate. I think it was just a softball interview.
Yeah.
And I think Jeffrey Sachs is big into the whole United Nations Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 thing too. Listen to what he said recently, okay, about robots and all that's going to happen. The best comes at the back end of the clip, so hang with me, folks.
What we should be saying is we need to go towards decarbonizing the energy system, because that's crucial. We need to be preserving biodiversity and making a common global strategy for that. That's really important. We need to be working together to fight communicable diseases like Ebola so that we don't have a Zika, Ebola, MERS, SARS, dengue, global epidemic, because we're really close to that also. For one of these, we had it with AIDS, where it started in a forest in West Africa and it became a global epidemic. So there are things we really need to do together. And then we need to reflect that we're living in the coolest time of all of science and technology, so we could actually do a lot of fun things together as well. And the most fun thing we could do together is let the robots take all our jobs so that we could go sit in the coffee shops. And that's my idea of basically the 21st century Garden of Eden. It's something like Starbucks.
With free Wi-Fi, presumably, and free bottomless coffee.
Exactly. With Wi-Fi and
free
no
muffins.
baristas anymore, because that'll also be robots, but they will know from your iris scan that you want a
double, triple caramel macchiato to hold the foam.
It'll be like a Garden of Eden, heaven on earth. We'll be served by robots.
Oh, boy.
I'm really glad. Yeah. I'm really thankful I'm 56 years of age. Right?
I think I say this all the time.
I mean, I don't know how old you are and if you want to announce it, but I'm glad I am the age I am. I would not want to be. I would not want to be 22 years old in this world. Would you?
It would be really tough at this point. And, you know, at some point there's going to be a civil war, probably in America as well. And, you know, every totalitarian regime that's come into power in the last 120 years has resulted, for that society, has resulted in at least 50 million deaths each. So if we turn into a totalitarian state, we will risk the death of many millions of people in our country. We don't want to see this, obviously, but this is the nature of totalitarian regimes. They all end up killing their citizens.
Okay, now look at this. If you want to, and I've reported on this in the Worldview Report tonight, but now you're going to have to upload if you want to come visit, and I guess be here part of the soccer thing coming up. What is it called? The Barney Fife? Is it what? The Barney Fife soccer tournament? Oh, FIFA. I think it's the Barney Fife. Barney FIFA. Soccer tournament coming up. Then there's got a lot of visitors coming. Okay, fine. Vet them. Do whatever you got to do. I appreciate that. But I think what this is really about is using that. Oh, safety. And it's always safety and convenience, right? And now they're going to use that to get everybody used to loading up their data on this global system. As you already said, this is not a race between China and America. The World Economic Forum's keynote speaker at their Great Reset conference a few years ago was Xi Jinping. He was the opening speaker, okay? Yes. There's no race. They are all in agreement. They're all going together. They're doing the global government summit in, Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates. They're all on the same side. There's no war between the communists, the fascist, the socialist, the globalist, the Islamists. They're all together. Look at where they hold their conferences, at each other's places. They're all together on this. So stop buying the lie that, well, we got to beat China because we don't want to become like China. Really? No, they are all cooperating together, okay? So here the U.S. is going to make you, if you want to come here and visit, put in all your social media accounts for the last 5 years, your biometrics, your face, your fingerprints, your DNA. Wait a minute, really? Your DNA. Okay, we go to the executive order. There it is. DNA. Now, people say, oh, that's for security. Look, they're going to find every reason they can for you to get on an airplane to fly from, Arizona down to Miami. You're going to have to do this too eventually. I mean, everything under the sun, they want to harvest all this data. I don't care what event they have coming on in the country. They're just trying to get everybody used to this, whether you're coming or going or in the country. This is going to be for everybody, right? Anyone. Yep. rich or poor, small or great. That's what the Bible says in Revelation 13. That's what's coming.
Exactly. Probably the most disturbing thing, the most disturbing phrase in relating to commerce in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, is the concept of the buying and selling of souls. That always, triggered me. What is it talking about? The buying and selling of souls. This is, we don't see this necessarily today, but you can see where it's going when your whole persona is put into an AI program to create a digital twin of you that could be analyzed and tweaked and whatever. It's like your soul is being sucked out of your body, and that becomes a tradable commodity.
Logan, do we have the video you made the other night of me? How long will that take? Okay, so Logan walks into my office the other day. He says, I want to show you something. He starts playing a video of me at the news desk. I thought it was me. If someone had said, is that you? I would say, yeah, I think it might be. I mean, of course, in this day of AI, I don't know, but I think that's probably me. It sure sounds like me. It looks like me. Now, Logan said, look, there are a few small details you can see that would cause you to say, I think that's AI. And he's right. But my initial reaction was, when he showed it to me, was, what am I watching? I mean, it's it's my worldview report. What? He's like, no, that's AI. And then as I examined it more closely, I was like, okay, I can see aspects of where that would come out. But the point is, we're in the early stages. If I am looking at something going, is that me or is that AI? It sounds like me. It looks like me. Okay, well, there's a few things there that cause me to think that's probably AI. Now, I've done about almost 1,000 worldview reports. Almost 1,000 30-minute worldview reports. So do you think I can remember every worldview report I've delivered? No. But if it's that good now where I even have to do a double take to say, is that really me? Is that really my voice? Is that really me, my image? Or is that AI? Then imagine what the average person out there is going, well, that's Brandon House. But wait a minute. Wait till the technology in another 6 months to a year is so good that I can't tell. Logan can't tell. Watch this. This is all AI, folks. The voice and everything. Watch this. What if I told you that America's entire future hinges on one issue, immigration? According to The Atlantic, the country's ability to solve its biggest challenges depends on getting immigration right. First, the U.S. faces a shrinking workforce, and only immigrants are keeping it growing. Second, political gridlock has stalled any real reform for decades, leaving millions in limbo. Third, the article warns that without a clear path forward, America risks falling behind globally. The takeaway? Immigration isn't just a border issue, it's the foundation for everything else. Want to know what's at stake next? Keep watching as we break down the real impact of America's immigration debate. Now, you can tell with the mouth that, wait a minute, that may not be real, but I did do a double take. I did do a double take to say, wait a minute, that's not me, right? He's like, no, that's AI. I said, my voice? I said, that sounds like my voice. Okay, so wait till it's another 6 months from now. I won't be able to tell. Nobody will be able to tell. Things will be being put out that are not me. That's what you talk about. You talk about trading your soul, right?
No, I know. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what do you think of that you just saw?
I could spot it almost immediately, but that's only because I've listened or viewed so many fake videos, and I look for stuff intuitively now. But you're absolutely right. It makes you shake your head. Maybe it is me with some modification, but yeah, you can't
And that
tell.
was a beta version, Logan's telling me. That was a beta version of the software, meaning that's just the testing phase.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I've got to talk to, and what I need to do, literally, what I need to do is go and talk to my, I have a litigation attorney, a corporate attorney, a tax attorney, and I have an intellectual rights attorney and a trademark attorney. So I need to go talk to my intellectual property and trademark attorney about trademarking my voice and my image. I'm not kidding, because if you're, and you should do the same. If you're a public figure of any kind, you should probably be looking at trademarking your voice and your image.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
I do. Yeah. It would cost money, but yeah, I see it.
Because then you would at least have a legal ground to have stuff taken down. You're violating copyright.
Yeah.
You're infringing on trademark.
Here's a scenario, an interesting scenario. Considering that Pete Hegseth wants the AI in all government, the Department of War, he says everybody in the whole department, top to bottom, needs to use AI. Imagine a soldier in the field getting his hands on a video creation software and faking some orders from higher ups to do certain illegal things, for instance, or whatever. Just imagine if that was pawned off as being the commander himself, your company leader or whatever, and imagine the chaos that could create in the military.
Mm-hmm. And imagine if a fake AI comes out of Xi Jinping or Putin declaring war.
Yes. Exactly.
All right, let's go to this little video as we wrap. Joe Rogan, people are saying you got to see this. Look at this. Joe Rogan talking to Elon Musk. Look at this.
Is to the jobs that are going to be lost because of AI and robotics, the jobs due to automation, the jobs due to no longer do we need human beings to do these jobs because AI is doing them. Do you think it's going to be some sort of a universal basic income thing? Do you think there's going to be some other kind of solution that has to be implemented? Because a lot of people are going to be out of work, right?
I think there will be actually a high demand for jobs, but not necessarily the same jobs. So, I mean, this is actually, this process has been happening throughout modern history. I mean, there used to be, like doing calculations manually with like a pencil and paper used to be a job. So they used to have like buildings full of people, cold computers, where the banks would all you do all day is you do calculations because they didn't have computers. They didn't have digital computers that people do. Yeah, well, it was just people would just like add and subtract stuff on a piece of paper, and that would be how banks would do financial processing. And
you'd have to literally go over their equations to make sure the books are balanced. Yeah,
and most times it's just simple math. Like in a world before computers, how did you calculate? How did you do transactions? You had to do them by hand. So then, when computers were introduced, the job of doing, bank calculations no longer existed. So people had to go do something else. And that's what's going to happen. That's what is happening at an accelerated rate. Due to AI and then robotics.
That's the issue, though, right? The accelerated rate, because it's going to be.
It's the accelerator. It's just happening. Like I said, AI is the supersonic tsunami. So that's what I call it, supersonic tsunami. So
it's like, what other jobs will be available that aren't available now because of AI?
Well, AI. Is really still digital. Ultimately, AI can improve the productivity of humans who build things with their hands or do things with their hands, like literally welding, electrical work, plumbing, anything that's physically moving atoms, like cooking food or farming or like anything that's physical. Those jobs will exist for a much longer time. But anything that is digital, which is like just someone at a computer doing something, AI is going to take over those jobs like lightning.
Coding, anything along those lines, yeah.
It's going to take over those jobs like lightning. Just like digital computers took over the job of people doing manual calculations.
So if you want your child or grandchild to succeed, you better get them as plumbers, electricians, carpenters, things that require a lot of physical stuff. I mean, I guess the robots will be doing some physical stuff, but I kind of don't think that the robots will be sent out to the house to take a 50-foot snake down the toilet to unclog the can. Or, you know, I don't see robots roofing the house when your house needs new shingles. I don't know. You kind of think that's coming. I can tell by your facial expression.
I do. Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
Knock, knock, knock. Hey, somebody let the robot in so we can get the snake down the can and unclog the toilet.
I know. Robots are coming. You know, Elon Musk says he's going to build a 1 million industrial-grade robots next year in 2026.
Right.
Where are they going to go?
I don't know. I guess they're going to be folding clothes and vacuuming, but are they going to be painting your house and reshingling the roof and doing the electrical work on the house? I don't know.
I know. Yeah. Well, this is the intention. You look at the robots in China, for instance, they're so far advanced from us at this point, with robots especially. They're doing incredible things in China with robots already.
And I don't want to sound like some old fuddy-duddy stuck in the mud who's afraid of technology. You know, people said nobody will watch the television. Nobody, the radio will be supreme. Nobody's going to sit there and watch a television. Well, apparently people said that. Whether it's true or not, I hear the story told. I'm not opposed to the technology, right? I love the technology. Yes. We use it all the time. I'm not even opposed to robots, because again, how do you describe robots? I think some of you in this audience probably have those vacuum cleaners that go around the floor and vacuum the floor and the dust bunnies up. That's a robot.
Oh, yeah.
That's a robot. It might be a low-level robot, but it's a robot. I got to grab this for you real quick. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not opposed to the technology, but at some level in a society, don't you have to put in safeguards in order to protect your free market system, because your free market system is based on work, right? The whole free market. This is something most conservatives don't know. Most conservatives don't know that the whole free market system is based on, and biblically based on work. Even in the garden before the fall, God required work, right? So work is a function ordained by God, even before the fall. And after the fall, it says what? You still gain your wealth or the course of time through the sweat of your brow. Work, right? Mm-hmm. And the Bible says to people, don't take advantage of the poor. Don't cheat them of their wages. Don't be involved in unjust weights and measures. And a lot of this relates to work, right? Your work or your skill is your property. And you trade that skill and property for a wage. Work. So when we run our free market system, it's all based on work. That's what makes something of value, that you had to put in time, you had to put in capital, and you had to produce something, right? It's work. Yep. Everything we do is tied back to someone doing work. But if all of a sudden you're bringing in robots that do everything, doesn't that automatically go against your free market system that is based on work? And that's where governments can step up and say, look, we're not talking about too much government, and we're not talking about too little government. Too little government's bad. Too much government's bad. But at the end of the day, the purpose of government is to reward the righteous and punish the wicked. And the righteous are to do what? The Bible says they are to work, and he who does not provide for his family work is worse than a pagan, an unbeliever. He who will not work, he shall not eat. We see that in the Bible, work is commended. The righteous man is supposed to try to live a solemn and quiet life in his own work. So thereby, government comes along and says, we don't want too little government. We don't want too much government, but we're going to be right in the middle, kind of like right where it should be. And we are going to regulate robots, because we do not want to destroy the work ethic of which our entire free market and Judeo-Christian worldview system is based. Therefore, we will not allow, and states and local governments and could do the same thing. We will not allow robots to take over certain jobs. Now, I'm going to ask you, do you think that is a violation of people's liberty or freedoms to put in those kind of restraints or not?
Not at all. Not at all. The government should be in the business of protecting the citizens, period. That was the purpose of government from the get-go. And it doesn't matter what kind of a government it is. To protect the rights of the people, to just get along, to live their life and not let, foreign hordes, come in and steal everything, that sort of thing. And, it's like this is not a difficult concept. But at this point, all of this has been inverted against God. Think about all the things that have been inverted that God told us to do in the first place. And work is one of them, for sure. Work is essential to society. So is your immune system. So what are they trying to do with all the mRNA shots, et cetera, to destroy your immune system? That was your defense against diseases and stuff. Think about the other things like the air we breathe. Global warming is a threat because of CO2. Oh, I thought God set the whole thing in motion. CO2 is our blessing. It's not our curse. And it's part of the life cycle, right? All of the stuff that these people have done is inverting some aspect of creation. Work is such an important aspect of that. If you take people's work away from them, what are they going to do other than just basically they're going to wither and die? What happens when people retire from their jobs they have for 40 years, 45 years? People talk about, well, what happened to Uncle Joe, whatever. Well, he retired, and then 2 years later, he died.
Right.
What happened? Well, you know what? He just gave up because there was no work for him anymore. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is going to happen on a mass scale.
Now, apparently, this is the first automated McDonald's. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah. To show it.
Really? Here it is.
This is huge news. The first fully automated McDonald's is now open in Fort Worth, Texas. Now, this is what's going to happen with AI technology. It's going to first take over low-level jobs that require repetitive tasks, simple decision-making. This includes jobs like this McDonald's here. As AI systems become more sophisticated, they will take over more complex jobs. Financial analysis, legal, even medical diagnosis will eventually be taken over by AI.
Wow. And then we have more videos, I guess, how it's done. Let me see if I can find another one. I think we got another one. Here we go. Let's watch this one here.
The automation. The patty in the bun was placed in the back by a chef. As you get to the automation, you're going to see that the machine will sense that the machine, there's a camera there, it reads the barcode, tells you exactly what it is that you ordered. Now, this machine will cut onions, lettuce, tomatoes, and pickles fresh. So, and place it onto the burger. So the first step is going to be the lettuce. And then the onions. It's going to pick up the pickles. And then after that, it's going to go pick up the tomatoes. And then place it onto the burger. The great thing about this is that as it's placing onto the burger, the machine tells you at the end of the day how many onions, lettuce, tomatoes, and pickles was used in a day, how many burgers ran through your system, which is great for operating. This machine has capability of 4 different sauces. In this case, there's 2. There's a garlic aioli and a gochujang sauce. Now this could be less, more, or extra in terms of the amount of sauce that you put onto the burger as well. Every part of this can be tailored to the customer's demand. The last part, Bob, we call him Bob, burgers only better. We'll close the clamshell. The fries will automatically come up. Bob will grab the fries. Place it onto the tray. At which point we're done. That's your burger.
Okay, I don't think that's McDonald's, but that is pretty cool. But the only thing I can say I like about it is I don't like people breathing on my food. I'm a real germaphobe. I don't like people breathing on my food. If you ever come to my house to eat, you'll notice that if my wife has a lot of people out and around and we do a buffet, she already has picked up a plate and set it aside because she knows if people go through the buffet line and she has not gotten my plate, I will not eat that. I will have her make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I will not eat food that people have breathed all over. Just me. Sorry. So the only good thing I can say about that is I don't have to worry about anyone breathing on my hamburger. And you know what? I've seen some videos where people are spitting in hamburgers and stuff. Have you seen that? Some people doing this?
Yes,
I won't have to worry about that. I know
worse.
that, you know, my wife's like, she sends something back. She's always worried, you know, the people in the back kitchen are ticked at her now because she's like, hey, you know, it is what it is. But if the robot was making it, we wouldn't have to really worry about the robot spitting in anything, would we?
Well, what if the robot was just oiled and it drops oil in your food?
Gasoline, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you for giving me something else to worry about. But on a serious note, this is not good. I mean, again, we got to try to figure out how we process this because I'm for innovation. I'm for cutting costs. I'm for businesses being as profitable as possible, right? I am for the freedom that people have to make decisions on how to run their business and make their business more profitable, particularly in a day and age where inflation, taxation, red tape make it so hard on business owners, right? So when it's so hard on business owners and they're thinking, I'd rather have people work for me, but between workers' comp, health insurance, paid leave that they now say I have to pay for, like up in Minnesota, you get so many days off for your bonding with your baby. I think even the dads get this stuff now. Then we have people who file frivolous, worker comp things onto employers, right? It doesn't take very long. If you've run a business, you're like, I'm not really wanting to mess with the employees because I've had too many of them lie to me, cheat me, file false, and frivolous worker comp claims, cost me a fortune. So yeah, I would like to go automated. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, and I'm not saying every employer is, every employee is ever like that. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying with all of the obstacles our government has put up for the entrepreneur and the business owner, sometimes you could see where they would go, well, if this will cut my cost and help me increase my bottom line to make a living for myself and my family, okay. Because the government's made it so hard to run a business with all the taxes and regulation and red tape, as I said. So in one sense, they have laid the perfect scenario to cause business owners to need to do this, not just maybe want to do it, but need to do it. Does that make sense?
Probably so. Probably so it does. I've always said if technology serves me, I'm okay. If technology demands that I serve it, I'm not okay. That's my litmus test, if you will. And even as a businessman, you have to count the cost down the road when you get rid of your people, and then for whatever reason something comes up and you can't use that technology like you thought, then you're up the creek with a bunch of robots sitting around and they can't do anything at all, and you've lost your employees and all your capital's tied up and you're instantly bankrupt. Mm-hmm.
That's a very good point. But of course, someone's going to have to build these restaurants. Someone's going to have to install these restaurants. Someone's going to have to monitor, and someone is going to have to repair all of those robots, right?
Yes, of course.
So, I mean, if you're talking about millions and millions of robots, you're talking about millions of jobs to service the robots, unless I guess at some point they get the robots to service the robots.
Well, wait just a minute. You're exactly right. The robots are already being trained to repair other robots and themselves if they can. Mm. Yeah, this has been a thing.
I grew up watching Buck Rogers and all that stuff. This is far beyond. I mean, this is so hard to wrap your mind around, isn't it, for us? I mean, it probably isn't for the guys in the control room. The 20-somethings, they've all been born into an environment with computers and iPads and phones. But for you and I, this is getting, I mean, it's really like hard to believe that this is happening in this fast. You and I have seen such massive change. Look, you're older than I am, but at 56 years of age, born in 1969, the amount of change that I have seen in my lifetime you know, I don't know how, you're probably, what, 15 years older than I am?
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine the change that anyone that's in their 80s, like my parents, have seen?
Yes.
I just think about the change I have seen. Remember, I was playing the old Pong game where we thought the fun video game was just a little bleep going across the screen, and you move your little dial so that the little rectangle hits the ball and back to the opponent, and you're playing Pong back and forth in the early 70s or mid 70s. You thought, hey, that's a pretty cool game. Hey, we are so far beyond that now.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, we need to remember the most important thing in life are human connections. Number one, and to find ourselves doing the things that God set us here to do in the first place, like work and serve people.
Yep.
And those sorts of things. This is the essence of Christianity, I believe.
But you have an article on your website, MIT study, AI initiatives fail 95% of the time. Okay, so is this really going to work in the next year or two, or are we being sold a lot of smoke and mirrors right now?
We're a lot of smoke and mirrors for sure, because at this point, software people are telling me that there's a false narrative when first you create a program out of using AI, you prompt the AI, say, I wanted to do this or that, whatever, and it does it. It might work on day one. But if the developers, the skilled developers, 3 months later or 3 weeks later, 3 months later, they discovered, oh, there's a bug, or we need to change a feature now for whatever reason. That this is the nature of software in the first place. You got to change it. So what they've discovered now, they can't debug their programs that were generated from AI in the first place because they're too complex, and AI does stuff that human developers don't do. So all of a sudden, their programs are unsustainable. They can't be extended, etc. And just take this on and what they're complaining about, by the way, what they can't understand is how did the software, the creation software, what decisions were made along the way to arrive at that solution in particular, right? There's no audit trail on the decisions. So when the human decisions can't be questioned, you can't question anything at that point. There's the program, like it or lump it. Think what the government is inducting in itself at this point on this basis. Government is always dependent on human decisions along the way, right? So if that audit trail of the human decisions is lost because of AI, when AI comes up with a solution or something, or says you're out of the system or you're in the system or whatever, there's no way to go back and say, well, how did AI arrive at this decision for me? There's no way to tell that. And at this point, the military, for instance, they're completely embedding it. Our government, Washington, D.C., is embedding AI everywhere. How do you think this is going to go? When the human decisions, when the chain is broken of the human decisions that went into all of the decisions that are made, nobody's going to have a clue what happened. They won't. There's no way they can figure it out what happened here, and it's going to be a train wreck for a government.
And what are they going to do when a foreign government cyber hacks you and shuts everything down, and you have no food, no distribution, no trucking, no nothing, because all the robots, have been turned off, or there have been malware put in, and everything's been messed up on purpose. So now your whole economy collapses because there's no human to go physically load the truck, drive the truck, deliver the goods, harvest the goods, because they've put infectious malware across the whole system.
That could happen. Certainly it could. But even if it doesn't, the whole of society, dependent on AI in general, is going to degrade by itself, short of any other type of event like an EMP or something. Mm-hmm. And society itself will degrade because the human decisions are absent from the system, nobody can figure out how AI arrived at a particular decision now. And this is so dangerous. And so people are going to be, their brains are be so atrophied at that point, they can't make a decision.
Right. You don't use it, you lose it. You don't use it, you lose it, right? Okay, as we wrap, all of this is going to require more than 5G. We're going to have to get to 6G and higher. What is this? Well, look at what President Trump, I'm going to see this for the first time. I read the description, but I'm hearing it for the first time. Here we go.
So we're into 6G now.
Did you catch that? He said we're on to 6G now, just in case you didn't catch that.
So we're into 6G now. I just finished 5G. I was a leader on 5G getting that done. And now they're up to 6.
Let's do it again.
What does that do? Give you a little bit deeper view into somebody's skin? See how perfect it is? I like the cameras the old days. So they just had a nice feature. Now they cover every little. Let's see, Michael, you're in good shape. You're not gonna. But I tell you, it's the 6 is coming, huh? So
6G.
What?
Okay, now
what he's talking about here, what he's talking about here about seeing under your skin, this is the concept of digital twinning, where digital twins can be modeled like of people, cars, buildings, whole cities, whatever. That's going to be dependent on 6G. That technology will be enabled by 6G. The twinning, for instance, of the bodies the people have, and they don't have to experiment on you, give you a shot or whatever. They can experiment on your digital twin, figure out what's going to happen, and then they can retrofit the whatever they want to give you, and you get it in your own flesh at that point. This is exactly what he's talking about here.
And now, of course, this is popular mechanics back in 2023. Scientists can now use Wi-Fi to see through people's walls. And of course, the more higher 6G you have, the more they can use this technology to get, I think, clearer and clearer images and views using all the Wi-Fi, the wireless technology, right?
Could be, yeah. Who knows?
The whole thing is just quite shocking. But as far as the 5G, 6G, the question is, and we have a lot of studies from Dr. Bashima Williams and other doctors about what this does to us, what it does to your DNA, breaking down your DNA, making people sick, unhealthy, contaminating your cells at the DNA level. I mean, this has serious ramifications. I mean, isn't it RFK Jr. that has done court cases on the impact of 5G onto families and children and people who have massive health problems after being around this? They move them out in the middle where this is not going on. Their health improves, bring them back to where it's at. Their problems show up again. Well, just go to 6G and then 7G. At what point have we just destroyed our own DNA? And now we have a whole problem with fertility, reproduction, and sustaining life. But don't worry about it because they want, apparently, the globalists to depopulate. And they got robots. They don't really need people.
You're right. And when you consider, we didn't talk about Curtis Yarvin and his whole concept of benevolent genocide. Oh my, we won't talk about it now for sure, but people need to read the book and just see what we said about his writings explaining how benevolent genocide would get rid of all of the undesirable elements of society, like you and me. And oh boy, this is a crazy, crazy sci-fi scenario. But this is the way these people are thinking at that point. They don't care about your health at all. They really don't. That's why there's never been any significant pushback against 5G. In fact, it was President Trump that brought it up and brought it out in his first term. He was all in on 5G from the get-go.
He said it. He said it in that meeting we just saw.
Yeah, exactly. So, he was all in then. He'll be all in when 6G comes. But at this point, AI is taking the stage, center stage, and AI is going to be what's showcased to the destruction of society going forward from here.
Technocracy.news, Technocracy.news in the book, The Final Betrayal, available on Amazon and at Technocracy.news. As always, great program with you, Patrick. Thank you, my friend.
My pleasure. See you later.
Thank you. See you, my friend. All right, we'll be back right after this short break. Remember, hey, you appreciate all we just did right there? All we talked about, and through the lens of a Christian worldview. We brought up scripture along the way, did we not? Well, then please continue to support us with your end of the year giving. Thank you to all of you that have. If you cannot support us financially, don't worry about it. That's why we push it out. We don't want people limited over the dollar figure. But if you can support us and you're not, please don't forget about us in your end of the year giving. We'll send you a tax receipt with our EIN number by the end of January of 2026. You can make a contribution now at worldviewfoundation.com. You can use that phone number right there. Just leave a voicemail for Melissa or text her. She'll get back to you. Or again, you'll find our mailing address at worldviewfoundation.com. We'll be right back.